stage where you get agency over how your feelings are generated. To some degree, you start doing this when you leave adolescence, I believe. That you understand that you're in charge of your own emotion to some degree, and that you are responsible how you approach the world. That it's basically your task to have some basic hygiene house in the way in which you deal with your mind, and you cannot blame the environment for the way in which you feel. But you live in a world that is highly mobile, and it's your job to choose the environment that you strive in and to build it. Sometimes it's difficult to get the necessary strength and the energy to do this, and independence, and the worse you feel, the harder it is. But it's something that we learn. It's also this thing that we are usually incomplete. Like I'm a rare mind, which means I'm a mind that is incomplete in ways that are harder to complete. So for me, it might have been harder to initially to find the right relationships and friends that complete me to the degree that I become an almost functional human being.
Oh man, the search space of humans that complete you is an interesting one, especially for you, Shabbat. That's an interesting. Just talking about brute force search in chess.
Yeah.
I wonder what that search tree looks like.
I think that my rational thinking is not good enough to solve that task. There are a lot of problems in my life that I can conceptualize as software problems, and the failure modes are bugs, and I can debug them and write software that take care of the missing functionality. But there is stuff that I don't understand well enough to use my analytical reasoning to solve the issue, and then I have to develop my intuitions, and often I have to do this with people who are wiser than me. And that's something that's hard for me because I'm not born with the instinct to submit to other people's wisdom.
Yeah. So, what kind of problems are we talking about? This is stage three, like love.
I found love was never hard.
What's hard then?
Fitting into a world that most people work differently than you and have different intuitions of what should be done.
Ah, what other thing?
It's also aesthetics. When you come into a world where almost everything is ugly, and you come out of a world where everything is beautiful. I grew up in a beautiful place as a child of an artist, and in in this place it was mostly nature. Everything had intrinsic beauty, and everything was built out of an intrinsic need for it to work for itself. And everything that my father created was something that he made to get the world to work for himself. And I felt the same thing. And when I come out into the world and I am asked to submit to lots and lots of rules, I'm asking, okay, when I observe your stupid rules, what is the benefit? And I see the life that is being offered as a reward. It's not attractive.
When you were born and raised an extraterrestrial prince in a world full of people wearing suits, it's a challenging integration.
Yes. But it also means that I'm often blind for the ways in which everybody is creating their own bubble of wholesomeness, almost everybody, and people are trying to do it. And for me to discover this, it was necessary that I found people who had a similar shape of soul as myself. Exactly where I felt these are my people, people that treat each other in such a way as if they are around with each other for eternity.
How long does it take you to detect the geometry, the shape of the soul of another human?
Thing about them. And sometimes this is persists, and sometimes it doesn't. And I have the illusion that I'm much better at recognizing who people are as I grow older.
But that could be just cynicism. No.
No, it's not cynicism. It's often more that I'm able to recognize what somebody needs when we interact and how we can meaningfully interact.
So
It's not cynical at all.
You're better at noticing.
Yes, I'm much better, I think, in some circumstances at understanding how to interact with other people than I did when I was young.
So that takes us.
Doesn't mean that I'm always very good at it.
So that takes us back to prompt engineering of noticing how to be a better prompt engineer of an LLM. The sense I have is that there's a bottomless well of skill to become a great prompt engineer. It feels like it is all my fault whenever I fail to use ChatGPT correctly. That I didn't find the right words.
Most of the stuff that I'm doing in my life doesn't need ChatGPT. There are a few tasks that are very helps, but um, the main stuff that I need to do, like developing my own thoughts and aesthetics in relationship to people, it's necessary for me to write for myself, because writing is not so much about producing an artifact that other people can use, but it's the way to structure your own thoughts and develop yourself. And so I think this idea that kids are writing their own essays with ChatGPT in the future is going to have this drawback that they miss out on the ability to structure their own minds via writing. And I hope that these schools that our kids are in will retain the wisdom of understanding what parts should be automated and which ones shouldn't.
But at the same time, it feels like there's power in disagreeing with the thing that ChatGPT produces. So I use it like that for programming. I'll see the thing it recommends, and then I'll write different code.
Yeah.
I disagree, and in the disagreement, your mind grows stronger.
I'm recently wrote a tool that is using the camera on my MacBook and Swift to read pixels out of it and manipulate them and so on. And I don't know Swift, so it was super helpful to have this thing that is writing stuff for me. And it's also interesting that mostly it didn't work at first. I felt like I was talking to a human being who's trying to hack this on my computer without understanding my configuration very much and also making a lot of mistakes. And sometimes it's a little bit incoherent, so you have to ultimately understand what it's doing. There's still no other way around it. But I do feel it's much more powerful and faster than using Stack Overflow.
Do you think GPTN can achieve consciousness?
Oh shit.
Uh,
Oh shit.
GPTN
Blew
probably,
this
but
footwork,
not
folks.
clear for the present systems. When I talk to my friends at OpenAI, they feel that especially whether the models currently are conscious is much more complicated than many people might think. I guess that it's not that OpenAI has a homogeneous opinion about this, but there's some aspects to this. One is, of course, this language model has written a lot of text in which people were conscious or describe their own consciousness, and it's emulating this. And if it's conscious, it's probably not conscious in a way that is close to the way in which human beings are conscious. But while it is going through these states and going through a 100-step function that is emulating adjacent brain states that require a degree of self-reflection, it can also create a model of an observer that is reflecting itself in real time and describe what that's like. And while this model is a deep fake, our own consciousness is also passive. It's virtual, right? It's not physical. Our consciousness is a representation of a self-reflective observer that only exists in patterns of interaction between cells. So it is not a physical object in the sense that exists in base reality, but it's really a representational object that develops its causal power only from a certain modeling perspective.
It's virtual.
Yes, and so to which degree is the virtuality of the consciousness in ChatGPT more virtual and less causal than the virtuality of our own consciousness? But you could say it doesn't count. It doesn't count much more than the consciousness of a character in the novel, right? It's important for the reader to have the outcome, the artifact, where a model is describing in the text generated by the author of the book what it's like to be conscious in a particular situation and performs the necessary inferences. But the task of creating coherence in real time in a self-organizing system while keeping yourself coherent, so the system is reflexive, that is something that language models don't need to do. So there is no causal need for the system to be conscious in the same way as we are. For me, it would be very interesting to experiment with this, to basically build a system like a cat. Probably should be careful at first, build something that's small, that's limited, with limited resources that we can control, and study how systems notice the self model, how they become self-aware in real time. And I think it might be a good idea to not start with a language model, but to start from scratch using principles of self-organization.
Is it, okay, can you elaborate why you think that is? So self-organization, so this kind of radical legalities that you see in biological systems. Why can't you start with a language model? What's your intuition?
My intuition is that the language models that we are building are golems. They are machines that you give a task and they're going to execute the task until some condition is met. And there's nobody home. And the way in which nobody is home leads to that system doing things that are undesirable in the particular context. So you have that thing talking responsible. Right? But the system doesn't know who's talking to whom. There is no ground truth that the system is embedded into. And of course, we can create an external tool that is prompting our language model always into the same semblance of ground truth. But it's not like the internal structure is causally produced by the needs of a being to survive in the universe. It is produced by imitating structure on the internet.
Yeah, but so can we externally inject into it this kind of coherent approximation of a world model that has to sync up?
Maybe it is sufficient to use the transformer with the different loss function that optimizes for short-term coherence rather than next token prediction over the long run. We had many definitions of intelligence in history of AI. Next token prediction was not very high up on the list. And there are some similarities, like cognition as data compression is an old trope. Solomonov inductions, where you are trying to understand intelligence as predicting future observations from past observations, which is intrinsic to data compression. And predictive coding is a paradigm that this boundary between neuroscience and physics and computer science. So it's not something that is completely alien, but this radical thing that you only do next token prediction and see what happens um, is something where most people, I think, were surprised that this works so well.
So it's so simple, but is it really that much more radical than just the idea of compression? Intelligence is compression.
The idea that compression is sufficient to produce all the desired behavior is a very radical idea.
But equally radical as the next token prediction.
It's something that wouldn't work in biological organisms, I believe. Biological organisms have something like next frame prediction for our perceptual system, where we try to filter out principal components out of the perceptual data and build hierarchies over them to track the world. But our behavior ultimately is directed by hundreds of physiological and probably dozens of social and cognitive needs that are intrinsic to us, that are built into the system as reflexes and direct us until we can transcend them and replace them by instrumental behavior that relates to our higher goals.
And it also seems so much more complicated and messy than next frame prediction. Even the idea of frame seems counter-biological.
Yes, first there's not this degree of simultaneity in the biological system. But again, I don't know whether this is actually an optimization if we imitate biology here, because creating something like simultaneity is necessary for many processes that happen in the brain. And you see the outcome of that by synchronized brain waves, which says that there is indeed synchronization going on, but the synchronization creates overhead, and this overhead is going to make the cells more expensive to run, and you need more redundancy, and it makes the system slower. So if you can build a system in which the simultaneity gets engineered into it, maybe you have a benefit that you can exploit that is not available to not discard right away.
You tweeted, once again, quote, "When I talk to ChatGPT, I'm talking to an NPC. What's going to be interesting and perhaps scary is when AI becomes a first-person player." So what does that step look like? I really like that tweet. That step between NPC to first-person player. What's required for that? Is that kind of what we've been talking about? This kind of the external source of coherence and inspiration of how to take the leap into the unknown that we humans do. The search, man search for meaning. LLMs search for meaning.
I don't know if the language model is the right paradigm because it is doing too much, it's giving you too much. And it's hard once you have too much to take away from it again. The way in which our own minds work is not that we train a language model in our own mind, and after the language model is there, we build a personal self on top of it that then relates to the world. There is something that is being built, right? There is a game engine that is being built, there is a language of thought that is being developed that allows different parts of the mind to talk to each other, and this is a bit of a speculative hypothesis that a language of thought is there, but I suspect that it's important for the way in which our own minds work. And building these principles into a system um, might be a more straightforward way to a first-person AI. So to something that first creates an intentional self and then creates personal self. So the way in which this seems to be working, I think, is that when the game engine is built in your mind, it's not just following gradients where you are stimulated by the environment and then end up with having a solution to how the world works. I suspect that building this game engine in your own mind does require intelligence. It's a constructive task where at times you need to reason. And this is a task that we are fulfilling in the first years of our life. So during the first year of its life, an infant is building a lot of structure about the world, does inquire experiments and some first principles reasoning and so on. And in this time, there is usually no personal self. There is a first person perspective, but it's not a person. This notion that you are a human being that is interacting in a social context and is confronted with an immutable world in which objects are fixed and can no longer be changed, in which the dream can no longer be influenced, is something that emerges a little bit later in our life. And I personally suspect that this is something that our ancestors have known and we have forgotten. Because I suspect that it's there in plain sight in Genesis 1, in this first book of the Bible, where it's being described that this creative spirit is hovering over the substrate and then is creating a boundary between the world model and the sphere of ideas, first in heaven, as they're being described there, and then it's creating um, contrast, and then dimensions, and then space, and then it creates organic shapes and solids and liquids and builds a world from them. It creates plants and animals, gives them all their names. And once that's done, it creates another spirit in its own image, but it creates it as man and woman, as something that thinks of itself as a human being and puts it into this world. And the Christians mistranslate this, I suspect, when they say this is the description of the creation of the physical universe by a supernatural being. I think this is literally a description of how in every mind the universe is being created as some kind of game engine by
The best. Ain't no even close to this malfunction. That's no editing. Alright, are you done? This is the worst. This is the worst. Oh, this is just the worst. It's never the worst. Needs some translucent. These get ready to drip. Mic check.
Yo, what's going on, Sir Smoke a Lot? How are you, my friend? Hope you're doing well, my friend.
Hey, I'm good, man. Oh, I joined like 10 minutes ago, and you were standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down. I was wondering what was up.
Yeah, I was saying some prayers.
Oh, I got you. Sorry.
You're
I don't
good.
know if you heard me. I don't know what hello or something. You okay?
You're good. Yeah, I can't talk when I'm in the middle of them, so it's just one
Oh, I
of
got
those
you.
things. I am in the middle of a karaoke concert. How about you? What's new in your neck of the woods?
Finished work like 2 hours ago. Got back at like 5 minutes ago.
Tight, you gonna play a game?
Oh, no, you do your karaoke thing.
I am gonna do my karaoke thing, but I can at least watch.
Yeah, oh yeah. I might have a little drink as well. I might have one or two. I've just had a joint. Not done football to me, so I need another way to relax.
I gotcha.
Oh. Some people do talk in this game. It's through comms. It's through a comm system.
Okay, just one moment. I'm pulling it up. What's the title of it?
This game.
Yeah.
Insurgency
Oh, this is the
Sandstorm.
one you were playing with. It's like 1960s Sweden,
No,
but
no, no, no. That was Generation Zero. This is a first-person shooter.
oh, okay. Wasn't the other one a
I
first-person
can't remember
shooter?
if I was. That was against robots. This is against people.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
No, sorry, it's with people but against bots.
I gotcha. Oh, that's cool.
It's probably like the most realistic gun simulator going at the moment. The guns sound quite accurate. I don't like war, but I do like learning about firearms.
It's called
It's always been an
Insurgency.
interest. Yeah, Insurgency Sandstorm.
Very cool.
I can't remember when it was released. Let me check. It was released in 2021, so.
Cool.
Alright, one sec. I'm gonna need to go in game chat.